Imagine being 40 years old, got a kid that's about to turn 16, and this is like, yo, life ain't nowhere near like I thought it would be at this point. I'm working 2 full-time jobs and doing DoorDash on the side. So I'm working about 90 hours a week. I went from no experience at all in tech to signing my offer letter in 84 days.
What would you say like the average salary is for somebody in tech sales?
Around $70,000 with OTE.
What tips would you give to somebody struggling to find a job in tech sales?
First thing you have to do is
What is up, guys? So in this video, I have a different type of video for you guys. This is gonna be a long form kind of interview podcast type video with Andre. Now, Andre has a really special story to tell. He was working 2 full-time jobs and doing DoorDash on the side, working 90 hours a week to provide for his family until he decided that enough was enough and he decided he wanted to get into tech sales, and he did that by going into Course Careers. He completed the course within 3 weeks, and then he landed a tech sales job within 84 days. Now, I don't want to spoil everything. Andre has a lot to say in this podcast. He's one of the first people to do this podcast. Big shout out to Andre. At any time, if you guys are interested in going through Course Careers to get your tech sales, IT, or cybersecurity or web development certificate, make sure you guys check the link in the description. You do get $50 off Course Careers. So if at any point you guys want to take Course Careers and apply, make sure you guys use the link in the description to get $50 off. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Today we have a special guest, Andre. Man, I just want to thank you for taking the time to get on the podcast. You're the first person to be on this podcast, and the main reason why I'm doing this podcast is just to show people like breaking into tech can be for anyone. You have a very special story to tell, and I think a lot of people need to hear this. And hopefully we can get as great people as you on this podcast, going into the future. But I don't want to waste too much time. Just kind of tell us about yourself and kind of your journey into tech sales so the people can get to know a little bit about who you are.
Cool. First of all, man, I'm honored. Thank you for having me. To be the first guest is an honor, right? This is something. Sharing my story is something that I've didn't really want to do when I first started. To be honest, I kind of did it out of necessity. I guess I'll start at the beginning. I broke into tech via tech sales. I started a course called Course Careers in January of last year. It took me 84 days to go from signing up for the course to landing my first SDR position, right? But before that, I was just out here trying to figure it out. I'm 40 years old, a wife, 2 kids. I was at a place where life had been kicking my tail. I ain't gonna hold you, right? And at the end of at the time that I heard about tech, I was probably at the lowest part of my life ever, right? I was depressed. My marriage was trash. My relationship with my kids was almost non-existent because I was never there. I was feeling like I'm far behind them. I'm 40 years old. I should be further along than where I am. Right. I've tried a lot of different. I'm a very creative person, so I've done a lot of different things in my life. Different businesses, to music, to all kind of different things that I've done, and nothing was really panning out for me. Right. So imagine being 40 years old, got a kid that's about to turn 16, and this is like, yo, life ain't nowhere near like I thought it would be at this point. Right. And at that time, I'm working 2 full-time jobs and doing DoorDash on the side. So I'm working about 90 hours a week. Right. And I just needed something to change. Right. So long story less long, I saw a podcast with Anthony O'Neill, a guy named Cyrus, talking about him breaking into tech. And that was the first time that I had felt hope since before the pandemic had kicked off. And so I decided, hey, I'm going to try this tech thing. I want to be a sales engineer. But the the course that was for sales engineers was like way out of my price range. It was like $5,000. I was like, no, I don't have that at all. But I'd heard about Course Careers, which was specifically about breaking into tech sales as an SDR, and I was hearing about the things like working from home, fully remote, entry level pay around 70,000, unlimited PTO, all these different things I was hearing, and I'm just like, I'm gonna give this a shot, right? So, um, I end up signing up for Course Careers, And I told myself I'm gonna do it in 2 weeks. The reason why I said that is because I saw a young guy who was 19 years old and took Course Careers, and he ended up landing $100,000 AE position in 2 weeks before he even finished the course. And I'm sitting here at 40 years old, like, dog, ain't no way this dude with no experience doing nothing. Like, he said in that interview, he said when he interviewed for the job, the only thing he could refer back to was him playing football in high school. No work experience at all. I was like, nah, I'm getting this done, man. I'm getting this done. And so my oldest son saw the same video with me, and I told him, I'm getting this done. I'm doing it in 2 weeks. But my ambition was a little higher than where I was. I'm 40 years old, working 90 hours a week. I'm not gonna get this done in 2 weeks, right? So I ended up doing it in 3.5 weeks. But the thing that kind of you talked about my story, how I've been sharing my story. I started my YouTube channel, Cut the Tech. For those that don't know, Cut the Tech. I started that the day after I signed up for Course Careers, and I did it because I'm naturally I'm naturally a person who, if I find something I think that's beneficial, I don't mind being the first one to do it, and I'll bring it back to everybody else. Right. So I had a couple of brothers of mine who were in a similar situation. And when I decided I'm going to do this, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to journey. I'm going to document my journey so that they can have something to come back and look up on if once I'm successful or broken into whatever, they can come back and have a blueprint to kind of do that. And so I started doing it from there. And what I also noticed was while I was working those 90 hours a week, I said before, I'm a very creative person. I wasn't creating, right? And anybody out there that has a gift, a God given gift to create, you know, if you're not creating, you feel like you're dying, right? And so when I started to edit the videos and just document where I was, I wasn't talking like I was already in tech sales. I just started from where I was that day, and it's been like a weekly update. Um, and throughout that creativity sparked back, and that brought back a little bit of joy, if I'm being honest, to my life. You know what I mean? Just a little bit more fun. Something I'm doing that I enjoy. Along with that, I'm searching for the job. Now I'm doing the work of what that they taught me to be an SDR so that I could actually be an SDR. And I landed my job in 84 days.
Yeah, 84 days.
Yeah, 84 days from I went from no experience at all in tech to uh signing my offer letter in 84 days.
That's absolutely crazy. So how much would you say you were making from the time, you were working those two jobs and then, transitioning into sales?
Mhm.
How big of a gap was it your income? How much did it change?
I was I wasn't making what I make at one job now doing both jobs and DoorDash before.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
how difficult do you think it was for you to like find a job in tech sales? You being brand new and all, like how hard was it? How difficult was it going through the interview process? Like how difficult was that for you?
I wouldn't say it was difficult. It was work though, right? Because the main thing about getting a certificate from something like Course Careers is it gives you the skills, and now it puts it on paper that you have the skills. What separates you from everybody else is the amount of work you're going to put in to go make to separate yourself, right? And so I I might be getting a little ahead of myself in this part of the story, but I eventually became a coach for Course Careers. So I help other students. And one of the things I try to train them on is like you've got to not just have the skills, but you have to be able to let people know that you have the skills. Right. And so it became a thing of marketing and branding on myself. And put that alongside my natural, like, I'm gonna go get this done mind frame, and it wasn't hard to get the job, but it was work. I think I applied to over 60 places before I landed the job I wanted. So it was work.
Yeah. So what kind of made you like choose course careers? I know there's a lot of tech boot camps out there. Like, what made you decide like course careers is a tech boot camp that I want to go with and try to get into tech sales?
Number one was the stories, right? We are naturally I have this thing that I say all the time. Look, the more the more pigmentation we have, the more skeptical we are.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's very true.
so so we're naturally super skeptical. Um, but what I did was I was researching, but I had known of Anthony O'Neill's brand for a while, back in his days, he was with Dave Ramsey. So his name alone brought a little bit more cachet to the Course Careers brand. And then from there, seeing other people. Now that I see Cyrus on his channel, and I start following Cyrus channel, and I start seeing other people who are graduating Course Careers who look like me, right? Not necessarily my age, but from my demographic. So I think the thing that kind of set me apart at the time was I didn't know too many black men in their 40s who had made that pivot. It weren't a lot of them sharing their story on the internet, right? And so when I when I told you earlier, I didn't really want to start sharing my story. What I found as I did was, oh, there's a large demographic of people that can relate to this, right? And so um I chose Course Careers because of the reviews it was getting and the price. It was $450. Like, I got shoes I paid more for that for, you know what I'm
Right,
saying? Like,
right, right.
so I was like, I'm giving this a shot. 450 to make something happen. I'm gonna try it. And by God's grace, the rest is history, I guess you would say.
Yeah, definitely for sure. So what is like the typical day in the life of somebody that works in like tech sales look like? Can you like kind of break that down for us for people that don't really understand what a tech sales or a business rep does?
Yeah, for sure. So there are a couple of different terms that could be thrown around with tech sales. The position I'm in is a SDR, or sales development rep. It also is called a business development rep. They're interchangeable. And so understanding what they do on a day-to-day basis, the word sales is in the title, but you're more a pre-sales person. So I'm not I'm not the person who is giving the presentation of the product and asking for money. That's not what I do. I actually do the work before that person, right? I'm the first point of contact to the customers that we might have. So let's just say you just had a bottle of water, right? You're selling bottled water, right? Um, you know what? Different analogy. Let's say we have a lemonade stand, right? You're the salesperson. You're the person that when they come to the lemonade stand, you pour the drinks, you ask them small, large, whatever, and you take the money, right? My job as an SDR would be to go around the neighborhood and find the people that are thirsty and set them up to come and see you
Like a
at the booth.
recruit, like a recruit basically.
Exactly. Kinda. Yeah, as a recruit. My job is to know, okay, our company's product sells this. These would be companies that would be a good fit for our product. Now, my job is to get in contact with those people, to do my research, find out if they be a good fit, find the people within that organization that would be a good fit, and then get them on the phone, get them an email, some way get in contact with them and set up a meeting so that the salesperson can show them what we have and sell the product. Right. So that's what an SDR does. Typical day in the life is a lot of time either researching companies or go for me going to work and doing activity. Right. I'm on whatever the products are, whether it's LinkedIn Sales Navigator or our Salesforce or Sales Loft. I'm always finding new people to add to the funnel, add to my pipeline, so I can have somebody to call, and then just doing activity. Right. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, I get paid pretty well to set up meetings. You think about
Just a
it.
question, just a question for those people that are like kind of skeptical and kind of scared because they don't really have like much sales experience and are kind of nervous of you like getting into tech sales. Like what advice would you like kind of have for them?
Can you talk on a phone in proper English? Can you type an email in proper English? If you can do that, you can be successful in tech sales. Now, mind you, I come from a position. I've had jobs in the past where I did traditional sales, right? Overcoming the objection. I don't have no money, or I got to ask my wife, or feeling like you're pressuring people to purchase a product. That's different than what you're doing as an SDR. The biggest thing I might get is I don't got no time. I don't have no time. Well, that's totally fine. Look, I just want to see if there's a time and space that makes sense in the next week or so. We can take maybe 15 minutes of your time. Right. I don't have any money. Hey, great. I didn't even call you about no money. Right. I figured a business of your size already has something in place that's working for you. I just wanted to put some information in front of you so that whatever product you're using, when you come up on time for renewal, at least you can know what else is in the market. Is that worth 15 minutes of your time? Right. That's all I do. I just set up meetings. Right. So will you get hung up on? Of course, you're interrupting people's day, right? But if you can make it a game, I like to gamify it, man. I really do. I like to make it a game, and then from there, just play with it. I one of my mentors taught me. He said, "Look, there's somebody that was making $1 million in sales." He said, "What I do," he said, "What I do is at the end of the month, I look at how much money I made." And I go back and tally up how many people told me no. And in my brain, I got paid this much money for each no that I took. He said, when I did it like that, it took away the fear of being told no. And I started getting excited when people told me no because I'm going to get paid off of these. Right. Yeah, it does. It does. It's just a little quick little shift of the brain. Hey, I'm interrupting somebody's day, but I have a product that can help this place. Right. So,
Yeah. So I know you mentioned earlier, like you had a wife and, 2 kids, and you were working almost 2 full-time jobs and 1 part-time job, doing DoorDash and deliveries and stuff like that.
mhm.
Now that you're working in tech sales, like how much freedom do you have, working in tech sales?
Man, I work fully remote. Right. So like this office where I'm sitting at right now, this is where I work, where I do my work at. Right. My living room is right here. Right. So uh I I I don't miss anything. Right. I remember before, when I was working so much, I missed a lot of things. I missed a lot of my kids' games. I missed a lot of uh karate classes. I missed birthday parties. I missed a lot of different stuff. Right. And now, like, my youngest son is in middle school. He's about to go to high school, but he played basketball this year, and basketball games were at 3:15 in the afternoon, and I didn't miss a game because I'm able to say, "Hey, my son is playing today. I got unlimited PTO. I'm going to go to my son's game," and they're like, "Cool, go do that." Right. So having the freedom to be able to move around the way that I need to it's a big perk, but it also comes with if you are performing. Right. It's one thing to have unlimited PTO, but you aren't performing. You can go on vacation all month if you want to. Come back to no job because you haven't performed.
Right.
Right? You have to be
Yeah.
performing and doing your job. And if you're performing, then the perks are tremendous. I spend a lot more time with my boys. I cook. My wife is a nurse, so our schedules are still kind of like she works a lot. I work a lot. So and she works overnight. So our schedules are weird, but we still get to see each other.
Yeah, that's truly amazing, man. Family time and all that, that's really important. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Mhm.
Another thing that I wanted to ask was, I know you mentioned earlier that you're doing cohort classes with Course Careers. Can you just kind of explain what those cohort classes are for individuals that really don't understand what those are?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Course Careers itself is an online self-paced program that you go through, right? But they also offer coaches that you can purchase the services of, whether it be a one-on-one session or now we have group cohort sessions. With the cohort, what that is, it's a structured 8-week program to take you from day one of the course all the way through to being fully trained and ready to go as an SDR, right? So each week the class will go over a certain segment of the program. We'll kind of dig into it that week, right? By the end of week 5, going into week 6, everybody takes the exam and they have their paper. They are certified SDRs on paper going into week 6. Week 6, 7, and 8 is us then doing what I said earlier, teaching you how to market and brand yourself so that you can land the interviews and giving you some super fire tips on how to kill the interviews also so that you can get the job. So by the time week 8 comes, you or on paper, you are a SDR and you're one of the best in the world because you passed the course career, right? And you actually know how to do the work of an SDR so that you can stand out from the crowd and land the SDR positions.
And are these cohort classes only offered for people who are in tech sales? I know Course Careers also offers like information technology and cybersecurity. Are there other courses for like other people that will go into like information technology? Is that an option?
Yeah, I can't speak specifically. I know there's coaching for each one, each different segment. I'm particularly in tech sales though, right? So I don't know if there are cohorts for the other programs or not. But you can see that on the website when you go and check. You know. the thing I love about Course Careers is this, you know, when you sign up for it, there's a free introductory. So you can go through each one and find out which one you like. And if you decide you want to do it, then you just purchase that program and you go for it.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely amazing. And you mentioned that price of, I think you said $500. Like when you were first seeing that price, like what were you thinking like in your mind?
I was thinking $500, man. I've spent that on sneakers that I don't even wear anymore. I'm doing this. You know what I mean? Plus, it was less sticker shock when I saw the other one was 5,000. So you know, I'm coming off of seeing 5 grand, and I'm looking at 500, 450 if you use a code of somebody who's there. And I was like, and on top of that, with 450, you could break it up into payments. I'm like, yo, they really trying to make sure that you can get in here and get this done. Right. So it was nothing to me. That 500 is probably the best $500 I spent the last 10 years.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And outside of just like those classes that you take, which you mentioned are like self-paced, like what other resources does like Course Careers like offer for those who are, trying to transition into a different career field within technology or tech?
Yeah, dope. So they offer the online. Each they have a ton of coaches on there. Like I think right now on the tech sales side alone, I think last time I looked, it was over 30 coaches available. So you can find one that fits your style if you want to. They also have a Discord group where you can just kind of be in there and interact with other students, stuff like that. The YouTube channel. One of the things that got me through while I was working the 2 jobs and still trying to finish this Course Careers was I would just go to their YouTube and listen to testimonials of people. Like for me, that would give me the motivation I needed to keep going, right? And then if I'm listening to the course and I'm listening to material and I don't understand it, I go back and listen to it again. Go back and listen to it again. And if that didn't work, then I'd go find it on YouTube and have somebody that's talking about that particular thing so that it actually drills into my brain that this is what I do. By the time I took the exam for the SDR position, for the certificate, I was so inundated with tech that I felt like this is where I should be. I wasn't coming into this. I was no longer. I never went into this thinking I hope this works. Right. I went into this like, oh no, this is going to work. And then hearing other people's testimonies, the beautiful thing about testimonies is you'll always find somebody who's not as smart as you, who's not better than you, and you'd be like, man, they did this. I promise I can
Yeah.
do this, right? And so uh that's kind of the way that's the thing that fueled me, right? I was watching other people's stories. I remember because one of my second jobs was at an Amazon plant, right? And I remember being in this Amazon plant feeling like this is prison. I hated working there, right? I absolutely hated working there. And I remember listen to testimonies from different people, and they talk about, man, this last time I was in this place, this year I'm at this space, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm so like I just got tears flowing because I'm like, yo, I got to get this done. I can't stay where I'm at. I got to change this, bro. I got to change. I got to change it. And so, I already had something inside of me that was like, nah, we getting this done, right? I wasn't in the test and see if this works. No, this is going to work. This is going to work.
Now, what would you say like the average salary is for somebody like in tech sales?
Yeah, the average intro salary that I saw last was around $70,000 with OTE. So explaining what OTE is. So in traditional sales, and anybody out there that has had a traditional sales job, they give you a base salary and then they give you commissions. Now, in most of those positions, it's your base salary, then you have to hit a certain amount of money or you have to hit a certain quota before you start to make commissions and go above, right? So let's just throw out some numbers. Let's just say your quota is you have to make 10 sales this month. After those 10 sales, 11 and up, you get a percentage of 11 and up, right? But most traditional sales jobs are very high turnover rate because the base pay is low enough to keep you having to come back to work and the commission is just far enough away that most people won't never get to the extra money, right? So I had a job like that where I was in a position where my base pay was like 30 something thousand. They was telling me you can make up to 100,000, but I was able to do just enough work to keep my job and was never able to really get to the real money, right? Well, in tech sales, you have your base pay. So let's just say your base pay is 45, right? 45K, right? Or yeah, 45K. And then you have on target earnings. Your on target earnings is the number they expect you to hit to keep your job. So it's so let's just say now your 45K is your base. You got to get 10 sales or 10 meetings booked to hit your OTE. Well, your OTE might be 25K for the year. So together, 45K, 25K, you're looking at 70K. If you do just enough to keep your job. Right? Now, if you're somebody who goes above and beyond, now with me personally, the last couple months, it has been great. It's been lit. Now, I will not lie. There have been months where it's like I didn't hit quota. I missed it. Right. But you go back and you retool, figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And so um the last couple of months, I've 150% my quota. Right. And with most tech companies, once you hit to your OTE, there start to be accelerators above that. Right. So now everything you book is worth so much money, like as it goes up. And it starts to get crazy. And so I work with people who make 100,000 a year as a SE, as a SDR, right? Like because they're just outperforming, right? It's overperforming. And so go ahead.
Now, how hard would you say it is like trying to hit that quota? Like from your personal experience, trying to hit a quota, how hard is that?
Once you find your groove, it's cake. It also depends on where you're working at, right? What product are they selling? What's is that product selling in the market right now? Right? Who are you selling to? Who are you working with? Like there could be a lot of different factors. I will say that right now I'm blessed to work with at my particular job. I work with three different AEs. So I got three different account executives or salespeople who I work with. They have their own three books of business and they give me game like, hey, I want you to go after these businesses. I want you to go after these. All right. And our approach is going to be this. And so I just go and I do my job and I want to set up boom, 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 so many meetings. My goal every month is 20 meetings. Right. If I could book 20 meetings, then my check is crazy. Right. Well, at least it looked crazy on paper. I ain't gonna hold you. Taxes on
After the
commission
taxes,
is
yeah.
crazy. Taxes on commission is crazy, but you got to pay to play. You know what I mean? So, but it's dope, man. It's super dope. I love. I really like being an SDR.
Yeah, so how hard would you say it is once you land a tech job? Like how hard is it to move up within the scale, like starting as a regular business rep and then moving up to the sales executive? Like how hard is that, or how fast can you move up within the industry?
It really depends on you. I've seen on average about 2 years between people going from SDR to account executive, and that's normally the trajectory of the career. Sales, the pre-sales person to the person who's actually doing the selling, right? And then up from there. But there are different ways that you can pivot and do different things. You know what I mean? Like so it I always say that tech is like the multiverse, right? A SDR position is an entry level position in tech, making $70,000 from home as your new floor. 70K is your new floor from home, right? And so once you get in there, then go where you want to go, right? I've seen people come in and they want to switch from SDR to a sales executive, to a sales engineer. Boom, go do that. Or they come in and say, "Hey, I like SDR work, but I want to do UI/UX design. Like I think I'm more creative. I want to do stuff like that." Go do that. Whatever you want to do, just get your foot in the door. Get your foot in the door and then go get it.
Right. So, talking about tech sales, and when I was kind of doing my research into tech sales, I've seen a lot of people that were kind of nervous about layoffs. And I seen some of your videos where you kind of talked about layoffs. Like, what does that look like? And, for those people that are nervous about layoffs, what can you tell them to kind of calm their nerves and give them more information about like what layoffs look like in tech sales?
I will say this: layoffs are happening everywhere in every business. It's not just tech sales, right? When I was working those two jobs after I graduated Course Careers, about 2 weeks after I got my paper, I got laid off from my job, and they told me they were like, "Hey, this is not a performance based thing. We're laying off the entire department, right?" And so, whether it's tech, whatever it is, like just the economy and where it's at, people are getting laid off, right? We had at my current company I'm at now, we had a 2 rounds of layoffs since I've been there. God, by God's grace, I've been able to stay at both through both of them, but we've had 2 rounds of layoffs, right? It's just the economy we're in. But I also know this as a sales development or business development representative. I did an exercise with my class, one of my cohort classes the other day, because this question came up. When we went to Indeed, I said, go on Indeed and just type in sales development and see how many jobs pop up. Over 200,000 jobs popped up for sales development. So while there are people who are being laid off at different companies, there are also companies who are begging, looking for qualified salespeople. Because think about it, I don't care what economy it is, sales is going to be something that every business wants to do.
Exactly. It runs the world. It sells everything. It's everything.
Especially when it gets bad, right? When the economy gets bad, it's hard to make money. I need people who can sell my product, right? So, sales itself is just something that it's one of those skills that, if you teach a man to fish, he'll eat forever. You know what I mean? So, if you can learn the skills of how to be an SDR, you'll never be without work because you'll know how. Not only as an SDR do you know how to do SDR work, the work that SDRs do is the work you need to do to land interviews. So you'll know how to go and get a new job with with ease because you know how to do the work to separate yourself from everybody else that's applying for the job, right? So I know how to identify, okay, this is a good company I want to work at. They had the perks I want. Who's the person there that would be the best person to get in contact with? Once I get in contact with them, I know how to engage them, right? I know how to take that extra step to separate myself from everybody else that's applied for that job. Because that's what I do as an SDR. I look at companies and say that'd be a good fit for my product. All right, who's the person there? The VP of sales. Say I'm selling a product that sells the sales teams. All right, who's the VP of sales? Who's the sales managers? I know how to identify them, and I know how to get in contact with them. I know how to engage them and set up a meeting. It's the same thing when I'm trying to set up an interview. I'm finding the company, I'm finding the recruiter, I'm finding the person who could get me hired, and I'm setting up a meeting, which is an interview,
Yeah, same thing.
right?
So
And so
what tips would you give to somebody, that's taken Course Careers or that's taken a different boot camp and is still struggling, to find a job in tech sales? Like what tips or tricks would you give them to kind of help them, break into the tech field?
brand yourself. Learn how to brand yourself, right? You've got to find different ways to set yourself apart from everybody else, right? So I teach my students 5 ways to separate themselves as an SDR, right? And I'm gonna give y'all these 5, but even though I make people pay for these,
No, we appreciate you.
the first thing you have to do is you've got to have a resume that is specified for SDR, right? Most people have a resume that just has a bunch of stuff thrown on there. Okay, how do you take that and tell the story of you being having the skills specified as an SDR, right? So that's the first thing you have to do. Second thing you have to do is make sure that when you apply to companies, you apply and have a resume that fits specifically their job description. You want to always when I was when I teach my students how to go for a job, they have a different resume for each company they apply for because they want one that matches that job description to make them look like on paper they're the best fit. Third most important is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is everything. LinkedIn is your brand. LinkedIn is your social media for professionals. And so you have to have the mind frame that I'm a brand. I'm no longer a person. I'm not a inner. I'm not a unemployed person looking for a job. I'm a brand. I'm a business, and I'm looking for a business partner. Right. So think of the use of social media. If you're on Instagram, and you are a Instagram influencer, you have a brand or something that you sell. Does your page look the exact same as my auntie who takes pictures of whatever she thinks about whenever she comes from mind? No, no. Your page has a focus. It has a niche. You have something that you're saying. You're only uploading specific things because you have a total brand that you want to get across. Right? Your banner is laid out a certain way. Even the way that you have your pictures on your profile like looks a certain way. Same thing on LinkedIn. Like I want to look like I'm the perfect candidate as an SDR. I want when you come to my LinkedIn, I don't want it to be any question about what I am. If you came here looking for a door-to-door salesman, you at the wrong place. I am a SDR. I'm a BDR. I do SaaS technology. Like, I have a specific niche and I brand myself around that. Like, this is where I tell my story. Right. So one analogy I was given was, think of it like a movie premiere. Right. You have a movie you have a movie that you want to premiere. That's your interview. Right. Your resume is like that little sneak trailer that comes out 8 months before. Right. It's just a quick, understanding of what it is. But your LinkedIn is the full blown trailer with some of the storyline, all the explosions. It's been color graded, all that good stuff. This is the one that's going to make people say, I want to come to the movie. Right. So as you're telling the story, you got to think about it. How do I tell my story of how I became or how I am one of the best SDRs in the world in a fly way that still represents who I am and who I want to be at work? Right. Because again, this is your brand. You hear a lot of people say when they're breaking into tech that they deal with imposter syndrome. You deal with imposter syndrome or feeling like you have to code switch because you sent your representative to get the job. You didn't go to the job as yourself, right? My LinkedIn and my brand on social media, or my social media for professionals, is done in such a way that when they call me, they want to talk to Dre, right? You said you watch my YouTube videos. I strategically use my YouTube videos because I'm in my element. I'm being Dre in my videos, and the genuineness of who I am comes across, right? So if anybody comes to my page and they want to, by the time they reach out to me, they want the guy that starts the video off by saying, "What up? What up? What up? Welcome back to the Tech family." You know what I'm saying? Like, so at the job I had, well, my first job that I landed when I became an SDR, they flew me out to the city, to the headquarters for training, right? And I interviewed with a couple of different managers. And when I walked in, one of the managers was like, "Hey, everybody! I want to introduce y'all to Dre. This is Dre from Cut the Tech. SDR. Don't call him Andre. Only his wife, his mom, and his grandma call him Andre." Like, I walked in that place. I can dress the way I want to dress. I walk the way I walk. I talk the way I talk because my brand on LinkedIn is who I want to be at work every day, right? And so I think most people have a hard time with translating to work because they send a representative, and I'm no good if I'm being somebody God didn't create me to be, right? God created me with specific gifts, talents, and all these. I walk a certain way. I was born into a certain city at a certain time with a certain demographic for a reason, right? So who I am is good enough for whatever position God puts me in, and I'm not gonna let nobody else tell me that I'm not, right? And so I carry my heritage, I carry my culture, I carry my everything that God created me to be. I carry that with me every day, and that's when I'm my best. Is when I'm genuinely being me, right? So you got to set your LinkedIn up in a way where you present yourself to be who you are naturally, but still show that you're one of the best in the world at doing this,
Right.
right?
Yeah. That's really
Um,
amazing. There's something else that I wanted to go into, and I think you kind of touched on that a little bit within your story. You were talking about like the culture within tech sales of being a business development, right? Can you kind of talk about that just a little bit, what that looks like?
Culture is dope because here's the one thing I love about tech. Everything in tech is about diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? Those are the buzzwords in just the world, period. But tech always wants to be in the forefront of that, right? Which is dope for me because I'm a black dude in my 40s who love hip hop,
Right, right.
right? So that works in my favor. We want more diversity. Okay, cool. Y'all want me though? You know what I mean? Like that, that works in my favor. But it's dope because then the culture gets to be a genuine culture when you allow people to be who they are, right? It becomes a reflection of the society. Now, will there be conflicts? Of course, there's conflicts everywhere. There's people, right? Some cultures clash, and that's okay, right? But at the end of the day, man, I love being where I'm at because they allow me to be who I am,
hmm That's
right?
amazing.
Mm-hmm. I don't have to code switch. I don't have to put on my yeah, I would say this. I don't have to put on my I know how to talk to white people voice.
No, I know that. No, I know
Right?
that one. Yeah.
I'm Dre. I'm Dre. And the way I talk to people is good enough. I learned that when I was doing when I did Uber and Lyft before the pandemic for a few years. And I had over 5,000 rides and I had a 4.98 star rating. And the number one comment I got was great conversationalist. It didn't matter if I was picking up the hood dude that was going to see his girl across town, or if I was picking up the CEO from the airport, it was taking him back home. Like I know how to talk to people, and I don't. You think if they get in my car, I'm gonna change how I talk? No, I know that the way I talk and my life experiences and my ability to connect with people is good enough. So I'm gonna be me.
Yeah. So, this has been a great conversation. And let's say, we have a person that's still kind of like on the edge about, trying to get into tech sales or, becoming a business rep. Like, what advice would you give them for that person that's kind of scared and still like hesitant? Like you being, 40 years old, having a wife, two kids, you're working two jobs. What would have somebody told you at that time to get you to get into, tech sales?
I would say that the number one thing you have to do is, and you hear this a lot, is you have to understand why you're doing something, right? I was just at a place in life where, bro, I was wild uncomfortable with where I was, and I wanted something different, right? And I'm a firm believer that when you have a why that's deep enough, ain't nothing gonna stop you from doing it. And I think one of my gifts was because I was over 40 years old when I tried to make this pivot. I have a lot of life experience to pull off of, right? I've had some we've all had things in life that were difficult, right? I lost my brother to COVID during the pandemic, right? I watched my brother take his last breath. That was hard. Finishing course careers ain't. When you look at it in that perspective, right? Like I've been through some things in life that should have killed me, that should have crushed me, and I almost did. Changing my career from having a $450 opportunity to change my career and change my family's trajectory with just some hard work wasn't hard because I was at a place where I was like, no, I'm going to get this done now. Now, for some of you out there, you might not be at that space in life yet, right? I had a class where there were two girls. Both of them were going through similar situations. They're both going through divorce. One of them got halfway through the class and was like, "Hey, this is too much for me in my life right now. I'm dealing with a lot. I can't finish it." I'm like, "Cool. I respect it. I understand that's one of the hardest things to go through, right?" So right now, like this will be here. Come back when you're ready. The other one going through the exact same thing said, "Man, forget this. My kid's gonna watch me succeed." Right? They went through the same situation, but they were just at different places in their mind and in life at the time to be able to do whatever that next step was. Right? One was emotionally devastated to the point like, yo, I need to step away for a minute. And that's cool. You got to do what you got to do. Step away, step back, regroup. That's okay. The other one was emotionally pushed, rather it be from whatever it was, to be motivated. No, this is why I'm gonna get this done. Right. And so I was just happened to be at a place in life where I was at that place. Right. And so understand why you're gonna do it and then do it. Right. Don't play. You know my motto when I do on cut the tech. Don't play me, pay me.
Hey, me, I know
That's
that.
my mind frame is don't play me, bro. Don't play me. Pay me. I heard it was money over here in tech. I'm over here to see what's up. Where it's at. Oh, it really is? All right, cool. Let me go tell everybody else that hey, yo, what's some money over here? Y'all, hey, yo, come on, let's go get this money. Like, but the first person you gotta convince not to play yourself is you, right? I had to look at myself and say, yo, don't play you, pay you.
No, that's really amazing. Besides like tech sales and helping people with the cohort classes, like what other things do you have going on for yourself that you're trying to, build?
Right now, it's the coaching through the cohorts and other stuff like. I'm naturally, somebody told me this the other day. They was like, Dre, you're naturally an encourager. So being a coach, being a mentor, being a trainer, like that stuff is stuff I do naturally. I have a passion for it. I love it. You know what I mean? So when Course Careers asked me to be one of the first cohort trainers, I was like, I'd love to do that. I would love to, right? Because I just naturally love to see that happen. So coaching is what I love to do most. Building the Cut the Tech brand. You know what I mean? So developing, how do I turn this from YouTube and coaching into a much bigger, grander scale thing? Because I want to eventually have this to where it's a place where when my kids get out of school, they can come work for me. You know what I mean? Like I want this to be the family business. We can do something like that, or just have, I got a lot of big goals, like goals, dreams, and stuff like that. But and so putting the gameplay in play and playing in play is just something that I'm working. Here's another thing I've learned. I'm completely open with my faith. If you know that, I'm a believer in Jesus. I'm a Christian. I really follow. I heard somebody say before, I don't just go to church. Like I really have someone who I follow after, a rabbi, right? So and I'm learning to. You always hear it. I've heard the saying before. We men make plans and God laughs, right? But God also tells us to have a vision, have something we want to do. So it's cool to have vision and have desires and things I want to do. So I have those, and I have to hold them in my hands in a certain way where it's like I'm open handed with it. God, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to go. But if you want me to pivot and do something different, I'm cool with that, right? So like even I said earlier, the natural progression from an SDR is to an AE. All right. But I have a skill set that might fit a little bit more in being a trainer, right? So where do I go? All right, God, you lead me where we're gonna go, because I want to go wherever the people are that can be served. That's what I love to do. I love to serve people, bro. That's what I do.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So for those people that are listening to this and they're like, man, this dude Dre sounds like an awesome person and I really love his story. Where can they find you and where can they like connect with you to kind of follow your story, follow your journey, maybe even support your journey?
Yeah, for sure. First and foremost is YouTube. Follow me on YouTube at Cut the Tech. Y'all see it back here. Cut the Tech. Follow me there, man. That's why I do a lot of videos there, just kind of following my journey. You can go there and watch from the day after I signed up for Course Careers to where I am now. I just celebrated my 1 year anniversary at my job this week, so I just dropped a video on that. So you can watch that story from there. Follow me on Instagram. It's Dre Senior KC, DRESRKC. That's my Instagram. Um, and I'm sure you could put my LinkedIn link at the bottom of this thing and have people follow me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll definitely leave all that information below. Dre, I just want to say thank you, man. You dropped so many great gems in this podcast. Some of these things you're actually having people pay in your cohort classes, and you were kind enough to, give these people some of the gems that you give in your classes. And so I really do appreciate that. And I think a lot of the people that are going to watch or listen to this podcast are really going to appreciate it. So I really do appreciate your time. And, I really
Yeah,
thank you for being the first person to be on this podcast. So I appreciate you, man.
no problem, man. I wish you nothing but the best with this podcast. I think you will take this thing to a high level. And so for me to be the first one on here, I'm honored. I love to look forward to where you are a year and a half from now when you got one of the best podcasts in tech. And I could be like, yeah. I was the first guest though. I was the first guest though.
Appreciate that love, man. Love for sure.
No doubt, man. I appreciate you.